Alright, Twitter, let's play a fun little game. Is this legal or is this illegal?
Pitchers weren't just cheating baseball, they were quietly rewriting how the game was played, and nobody stopped it for years. MLB's 2021 sticky substance scandal exposed widespread cheating, warped pitching dominance, enraged players, and triggered one of baseball's messiest crackdowns ever.
You ever use spider tack while pitching?
I don't. I don't know. I don't know if. I don't quite know how to answer that, to be honest.
And this is where baseball started to feel off. The 2021 MLB season wasn't just another year, it was one of the strangest stretches the sport had seen in decades. Pitchers were absolutely dominating. Hitters looked helpless. And statistically, something didn't add up. Opponent batting average dropped to its lowest point since 1968, the heart of the dead ball era. That alone raised eyebrows across the league. But it wasn't just the numbers, it was the behavior. Pitchers were snapping, yelling at umpires, accusing opposing managers of cheating accusations. One guy literally pulled his pants down on the mound. Another screamed across the diamond. It felt tense, uncomfortable, and honestly, chaotic. Normally, when baseball has a cheating scandal, it's subtle, quiet, caught years later. This time, it was happening live, on national TV, every night. And the dominance wasn't isolated. This wasn't one team or one ace having a magical season. It was league-wide. Everywhere you looked, pitchers were suddenly throwing unhittable stuff. Breaking balls darted like they were remote-controlled. Fastballs exploded past bats. And hitters, some of the best in the world, looked completely lost. That's when people started asking the uncomfortable question, what exactly are pitchers doing differently right now? And the answer led straight to one sticky, uncomfortable truth.
This summer, Major League Baseball was rocked by a cheating scandal that many say was years in the making.
Major League Baseball says too many pitchers today are doctoring the ball.
Everybody in the sport has known for decades that there has been a use of foreign substances.
This is baseball's dirty little secret.
And here's where it gets way more serious. Sticky stuff sounds harmless, almost silly, but it's anything but. At its core, it's a foreign substance pitchers apply to their fingers to dramatically improve grip. Spider tack, homemade mixes, industrial adhesives, stuff designed to lift heavy rocks, not throw baseballs. Better grip means better control. Better control means sharper breaks. And a sharper break means hitters don't stand a chance. Trevor Bauer once said this stuff gives a bigger advantage than steroids. And that wasn't an exaggeration. Steroids might make you stronger, but sticky substances literally change how the baseball moves in midair. MLB banned it for one simple reason. It destroys competitive balance. When pitchers can artificially increase movement, offense disappears. Strikeouts spike. Balls stop getting put in play. And baseball becomes slower, uglier, and harder to watch. The scary part? This wasn't some secret experiment. Everyone knew. Players knew. Teams knew. The league knew. And for years, it was quietly tolerated until it couldn't be ignored anymore. So why was it so effective? That answer comes down to one invisible stat that changed everything.
So this is probably the best way to do it. If I'm pitching to the batter over here and I'm spinning the baseball, right? It's spinning in this direction.
Spin rate shocked everyone once people understood it. It's simply how fast a baseball spins. And higher spin makes pitches nearly unhittable. Fastballs jump, sliders bite, and curveballs drop late. By May 2021, StatCast showed spin rates at all-time highs across the entire league. Not just a few pitchers. That doesn't happen naturally. The difference was grip. Sticky substances let pitchers throw harder, sharper pitches without losing control. When MLB enforced the ban, the scenes of all this chaos was one man almost nobody outside baseball knew: Bubba Harkins. For over 3 decades, Harkins worked quietly as the Angels' clubhouse manager. Not a coach, not a front office executive, just a guy players trusted. During his time with the Angels, Harkins learned about grip enhancers from legendary closer Troy Percival. What started as simple advice slowly turned into experimentation. Mixing substances, tweaking formulas, finding what worked best in heat, cold, rain, whatever pitchers needed. Before long, word spread. Pitchers from across the league weren't just aware of Harkins, they were calling him. asking for batches, asking for custom mixes. He became Major League Baseball's unofficial foreign substance expert. That's what made this scandal different. This wasn't one rogue pitcher cheating in secret. It was organized, shared knowledge. Almost professional. And when MLB finally took action, Harkins paid the price. After 31 seasons, he was fired in March 2020. But by then, the damage was already done. The sticky empire had already gone mainstream. And then came the text message that changed everything. In 2019, Yankees ace Garrett Cole sent Bubba Harkins a message that would later become infamous. He wasn't vague. He wasn't subtle. He straight up asked for help with a sticky substance that wouldn't seize up in cold weather. That one text told us two massive things. First, Cole had been using sticky stuff at least since 2018. Second, everyone knew exactly who to contact for it. This wasn't some underground secret. This was an open system. Pitchers texting a clubhouse manager like he was tech support. Once that message surfaced, there was no walking it back. MLB couldn't pretend this was isolated anymore. The proof was right there, in plain language. That text became the turning point because it exposed something uncomfortable. Sticky stuff wasn't cheating in secret, it was accepted behavior. And once that door cracked open, the loudest voice in the room kicked it all the way down. And here's where things get really uncomfortable. No one talked about sticky stuff more loudly than Trevor Bauer. In 2019, he openly accused MLB pitchers claiming over 70% were using some form of foreign substance.
All right, Twitter, let's play a fun little game. Is this legal or is this illegal? Let's try it again. Here it is. I squeeze the ball.
Not quietly, publicly. On Twitter, he didn't stop there. Bauer tweeted that nothing naturally increases spin rate besides throwing harder. Then he dropped a bombshell saying Pelican bat wax could boost spin by 300 revolutions per minute, even while throwing slower. That wasn't speculation. That was exposure. Then came the line everyone remembers. Bauer said if he used sticky stuff, he'd win a Cy Young award. But he claimed he wouldn't because of morals. At the time, people saw him as a whistleblower. The guy brave enough to say what others wouldn't. The problem? Those morals didn't last very long. Because just months later, Bauer's spin rate suddenly jumped by a lot. And if you believed his own earlier words, there was only one explanation. That's when the conversation flipped. Was Bauer exposing the system? Or gaming it better than everyone else? And the results were impossible to ignore. Between 2019 and 2020, Bauer's spin rate jumped by nearly 250 revolutions per minute. That's massive. Not normal progression. Not mechanical refinement. That's foreign substance territory. And what happened next? Exactly what Bauer predicted. His ERA dropped from 4.48 to 1.73. He became nearly unhittable. And at the end of the season, he won the Cy Young Award, the same one he said he'd win if he cheated. That's when MLB panicked. Because now, sticky stuff wasn't just a rumor. It wasn't just StatCast graphs. It was a superstar openly proving the advantage in real time on the biggest stage. Bauer didn't just benefit from sticky substances. He forced MLB's hand by showing exactly how broken the system had become. And when the league finally reacted, they did it in the worst way possible.
These substances, like banned substances, do you think there should be any kind of substances being able to be used?
Yeah, I think they need, and this is a big problem with MLB. They're worrying about some stuff that, honestly, they shouldn't even be going close to. They need to worry about other things in baseball.
Just when you'd expect a clean solution, MLB chose chaos. During spring training 2021, the league pretended to care. Light memos, vague warnings, talks about monitoring spin rate. Nothing serious. Pitchers kept doing what they'd always done. Then, out of nowhere, June hit. Mid-season. No gradual transition. No real warning. MLB suddenly went nuclear, enforcing foreign substance checks like it was an emergency. Pitchers felt ambushed. One day, they were allowed to pitch normally. The next, umpires were grabbing hands, inspecting fingers, checking hats, gloves, belts, everything. The communication was awful. The timing was worse. Instead of easing players off sticky substances safely, MLB ripped the bandage off mid-season, and that led to frustration, confusion, and fear. Because when routines change suddenly at the highest level, the body doesn't always keep up, which brings us to injuries and one pitcher who became the face of that debate. After the crackdown, things got serious fast.
100% believe that contributed to me getting hurt, no doubt. And before that start, I remember when all this stuff came out, I was talking to people and talking to doctors, and they were like, the thing that maybe MLB doesn't realize or that players don't realize is like, what is the prevention of, like, maybe it'll add to injuries. And in my mind, I was like, that sounds dumb. That sounds like an excuse a player would use to make sure he can use sticky stuff. But I threw to the Nationals. I woke up the next day and it was like, I am sore in places that I didn't even know I had muscles in.
Tyler Glasnow blamed his Tommy John injury on losing grip, saying he had to squeeze the ball harder just to control it. While injuries were already high and data showed no major spike, his case raised concerns. At the same time, enforcement turned awkward constant checks. Sergio Romo dropping his pants, Scherzer snapping at Girardi, hair inspections, ear rubs, and Bumgarner's ejection. It felt less like regulation and more like chaos. Now here's where things got messy. The first suspension hit Hector Santiago, then Robert Suarez. Clear violations, sticky stuff found.
So Suarez will not be coming into this game.
Everything is innocuous here. Hector has no problem. He's having a good old time, and he ends the glove, and everything is good with the glove. But then when they check the inside of the glove,
this is our look at the check from inside the glove of Phil Cuzzy and Mark Ripperton.
But then came the gray areas.
Suspended today 10 games. I went to the appeal process, looked at what that appeal process was going to look like. I thought I was going to get in front of a neutral arbitrator, but I wasn't. I was going to be through MLB, so given that process, it wasn't going to come out on top, given that. The best thing for the Mets, I'm going to follow what the Mets wanted me to do, and that was to accept the suspension.
Max Scherzer was suspended later, claiming his hand was sticky due to sweat and rosiness, which is technically legal. Unless, of course, the umpire decides it's too sticky. That's the problem. What's too sticky? There's no measurement, no device, just feel. Domingo Germán lived in that gray area twice. Once, the umpires let him wash his hands and return. A month later, he was ejected and suspended, with an umpire saying his hands were the stickiest he'd ever felt. Even managers admitted it was impossible to draw a clean line. Rosin plus sweat is allowed. But when does it cross the line? Nobody really knows. And somehow, despite all that confusion, the crackdown actually worked. Surprisingly. Yes, the offense improved. Balls were put in play more often. Hit by pitch rates didn't skyrocket. Suspensions stayed relatively low. Spin rate didn't collapse, but it normalized. And while it's slowly climbing again, it hasn't returned to those insane 2021 peaks. Injuries didn't explode either. In fact, compared to 2020, pitching injuries eventually stabilized, even with new changes like the pitch clock. That tells us something important. Sticky stuff didn't just give pitchers a small edge, it warped the entire balance of the sport. And once MLB finally corrected the course, baseball looked more like baseball again. Messy? Yes. Awkward? Absolutely. But effective. In the end, sticky stuff didn't just expose cheating, it exposed how fragile baseball's balance really is. Pitchers gained superpowers, hitters paid the price, and MLB learned the hard way that ignoring a problem only makes the fallout louder, stranger, and impossible to control.